So, I just wanted to talk about superhero movies for a second, like in a broader sense, you know? Because this year, this last year saw the finale to a saga that began 11 years ago with the film that, like, basically cemented this, like, modern era of, uh, like, a superhero movies, right? Like Iron Man 2008 to Endgame of 2019. It's been a ride and it's gonna keep going its own way, but like that was the conclusion of like that canto of this whole epic, right? Um, and it feels like an era in like the general like cinematic zeitgeist. Um, but like people are still talking about the idea of superhero fatigue, and like they seem to have been talking about it for like at least half of that era. And I'm feeling something closer to fatigue. Like I just I could really live without hearing people whine about stuff they have no interest in. There are all kinds of things I don't care about. I prefer to talk about the things I do like this whole like blog situation. Uh, should evince that well enough. Um, like I don't see the point in arguing for the death of anything, really. Uh, Especially in this like post monoculture world we have, where the mainstream has been divided into innumerable tributaries that cater to all sorts of tastes. Like there's something for you and it's not actually that hard to find. It might not be the thing you personally like, might not be like constantly blasted in your face, but like that's how everyone's always lived. And now it's easier to find the thing you do like. Like if you were living in like the 70s and you didn't like mainstream music, it was far harder to find music you did like. You know, you had to seek that thing out. You couldn't just like turn on Spotify and say, "Hey Spotify, give me like not Katy Perry or whatever." Like I don't know. I just mentioned her because she's on the radio and stuff, which I wouldn't even know. But like, I go to a gym where there's this like big screen that blasts a very small selection of popular songs, and I'm listening to my own stuff anyway, so it's just background noise. But that's like I'm more aware of what's on the radio now than I have been at any point in my life. Anyway, a bit of a digression, but you know that's what I'm here for. So yeah, and you could say that I'm biased because I love the whole superhero mythos, but I don't think that that has any real bearing on this philosophy. Because like I remember when those Hunger Game movies were like the biggest thing. I never had a desire to see a single one. In fact, I remember like uh, a conversation with a group of friends where we were like trying to decide on a movie to see for the weekend, and most of us were leaning towards Thor: The Dark World. And this one guy said, "Hey, aren't you guys going to see Hunger Games?" And I don't remember how everyone else felt, but I just had no interest. I was like, you know what, I want to see Dark World. And until Ragnarok came out, that was like a contender for one of my favorite superhero movies. Anyway, so yeah, never had any interest in Hunger Games, but I didn't have anything against them either, right? And I remember like I always like got like slightly annoyed when I'd hear like all of these like aspiring intellectuals discount those movies and books with like lazy comparisons to Battle Royale. And it was especially bad because most of those people didn't really have didn't really seem to have any idea about Battle Royale beyond the like fact that they'd heard that it was broadly similar in like basic core concept to the Hunger Games. And like you know, they beyond that they had like no real like idea of it. They just wanted to like toss out that little bit of supposed superiority over all the people who liked the thing they didn't like, and it just seemed pointless and like pedantic in the worst way. Um, and like I mean, from like those like little bits I have seen of the Hunger Games, just like on the background on television or posters, whatever. I mean, I've it's still not my type of story or like what I'm interested in. But I do love the costume design for a lot of it, like the rich people, and also Stanley Tucci. Like I can't like Stanley Tucci's just glorious to watch in anything. Um, anyway, beside the point. I have no interest in Hunger Games, but it's still annoying to hear people complain about a thing you have no interest in when you just prefer to hear people talk about the things they do like. It's far easier and it's got to be more satisfying. I mean, I know that some people have that slight, like, masochistic streak where they just take delight in uh, focusing on things they hate. And like, if that's like their pleasure, I don't really want to take pleasure away from anyone. But it's annoying. Like it's far easier to let people have the things they like instead of trying to like take it away and bring everyone around to like what you like. I like I don't know. It's weird, man. I don't really get that kind of motivation. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I also remember when people would like knock on Rowling and claim that she'd copied the idea of Hogwarts from like whatever their like foremost magical school of history was, without seeming to give consideration to the idea that uh, concepts like child soldiery and mystical academia um, are like basic enough to be independently created and spun out in like a myriad of equally valid directions. Like Battle Royale Hunger Games, basic similarity in like plot, I suppose. Like kids are forced to fight each other, but they're like very different stories. Or like people who like compare Lion King to like Kimba the White Lion, right? Like, all right, Kimba, Simba, whatever. Uh, One, uh, it was just a movie about a bunch of animals with like Shakespearean overtones, and the other is a movie about animals who have to like combat, you know, uh, interfering humans, right? Like they're pretty different stories. Um, and I could also deal without people who drone on about constant adaptations and remakes. Like, dude, Gone with the Wind, that movie? It's like along with Citizen Kane in terms of being like an exemplar of the golden age of cinema or whatever, based on a book. People are like always gonna want to like play with the things they love, and if they have like if they feel as though they have a good take on something or way to like spin it for like a new audience or turn it like to a different angle, like let them do it, man. Like same with sequels. If people like a thing, let them have more of it. Like honestly, I don't believe in like filtration. It seems futile. Like the good stuff that you can find is always going to be worth letting the bad stuff through because that's how it works. If you try to shut out all the bad stuff, you're shutting out a lot of good stuff too. Um, the ratio of signal to noise is never going to be favorable, and that's especially true now when it's so much easier to like get content out there. But you just need to keep searching for that signal, because the fact that all of that like stuff you don't care about is allowed to exist means that the stuff you do want will be there for you to find. You just need to find it. And again, it's never been easier. Um, but yeah, it's still, as I said, simpler and more satisfying to focus on what you love and leave everything else to the people who love it. Not that hard.